VeeFam, what's up? I am Rob, Mr. Messer, back with another episode of the VeeFam Sessions. I am pleased to have oh man, so many things. Wonderful person at the top, but 420 and titty enthusiast, NFT founder, host of High Reviews, just an amazing personality and warm spirit in the space. Ashley DCan's. Ashley, thanks so much for coming on VeeFam Sessions. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm feeling good. Just woke up a little bit ago, being a little lazy today, but yeah, it's a great day.
Amazing. And this is a little different because usually the guests on this podcast are native to VeeFriends land, but we had the privilege of meeting you at Veecon, and you just mentioned it before we started recording. We had a great conversation, and it really opened up my eyes to see, man, it's very interesting to get people's perspectives from the outside, other communities looking in, and you got to taste it. So I'm really happy to hear about your story and obviously your perspective on all that is VeeCon and VeeFriends. I always like to take it back to the beginning though. So if you don't mind just giving us a little bit of background on you, like growing up, your story prior to ever hearing the word NFT.
Oh man. Well, I've got a pretty long story, but I'll shorten it a little bit. So I grew up my whole life in Dallas, Texas, still live there, born and raised. I moved a lot as a kid, and I ended up like, I had a weird childhood because I had a very normal childhood up till the age of 10. And then my mom actually left the house. And so me and my dad and my sister were alone. She came back a little bit after, and it was like one of those things whenever you have like your parents divorce and one parent leave, it can be difficult growing up. So like at that point in my life, my parents were like scattered. So they were constantly moving all around. So I never like grew up in one school. I constantly was moving school districts. And so like I never really had like a base group of friends. And my last name was Wiener. That's my maiden name. Got made fun of so much in high school,
Interesting.
like all the time. And then growing up, I ended up long before I was ever like in any kind of tech industry, I was a waitress for 5 years. And then I started working at Bank of America as a fraud analyst. So I got my first big dose of corporate America by analyzing fraud information, trying to stop bad guys. A little fun tidbit, I worked with law enforcement on getting a guy that ended up, okay, this is going to sound crazy, but it's true. This guy chopped off his mom's head. Yeah. And then turns out
Whoa.
his yeah, and then turns out his account was like he had a fraud alert. So the guy got his card stolen like right after that happened. So it was like this big ordeal. So that was like one of the craziest moments in my career there. Then I went to real estate, became a realtor. Then I was working at a software firm right before I started in NFTs. And then I ended up getting more into crypto because back in 2018, I bought Dogecoin. And so January 2021 rolls around. I totally forget that I bought Dogecoin. And somebody texted me, they were like, hey, you bought Dogecoin back in the day. It's going to the moon. I'm like, no way. So I go in there, I see like my account is popping. I get super pumped and then get super immersed in crypto. June rolls around, a project called Doge Pound came out, and that was like my first NFT ever. And then ever since then, I have been like addicted to NFTs, made my own collection. The rest is pretty much history.
Amazing. Well, kudos. That's a great friend to remind you that you're sitting with that bag from years later. Man, it's nice to have friends like that. So it sounds like you were no stranger to bouncing around things and dabbling and tasting different careers. What attracted you to Web3, to the NFT space? When you said
Um,
you got addicted, what kind of components
it's
did you sink your
like
teeth into and love?
it's like a whole different world here. It's like I felt like everybody had this crazy background. A lot of people that are into NFTs have this weird background. Like you talk to every single person And it's just some unique story after the next. It's whether it be like something they went through as a kid or in their career, whatever it may be, like the amount of people with all kinds of different backgrounds coming together for JPEGs, it was wild to me. Whenever I first heard about NFTs, I actually was really against them. I was like, this is stupid. And I didn't really like them. And whenever I started meeting people from the NFT universe coming from crypto, just like it was like I found my people. It was like you recognize a person that you've never met before and you have a great conversation. You click instantaneously. That's how it is with the NFT community for me. Like the moment that I actually started speaking to people in the community, like the vibe there, it felt like I truly belonged somewhere, like career wise too, because in corporate America I always felt like I didn't get along with the people and I didn't have the capacity either to keep up with them or to understand. I've never been like a like in the box kind of person. I've always been weird and wacky and out of the box. So I felt like NFT people are the same way. And I feel like we could all just be weird together.
I love that. I love that. And so many people's through line. Like they finally found someone that they connected with or community that they connected with, that they felt heard and they felt acknowledged and they're staying. That's why, regardless of whatever the market's doing, that people are staying in their communities and seeing it through just because it's so much more than dollar signs. And thank you for sharing that. So at some point, I know you founded Crypto Titties and she survives and have this really cool collab with the American Cancer Society and also branded yourself as like this titty queen, which is unbelievable. Obviously, like you have a super amazing following. So what came first? Were you passionate about this and you started these projects and then just ran with it, or was it vice versa? Tell us a story about how that came about and you got to be who you are in the space.
So when I first doxed myself after getting into NFTs and a little bit into crypto, the male community there wasn't a lot of females at the time whenever I first was doing this, or at least not a lot of doxed females. So when I came out with my face, I got a ton of DMs of guys wanting to see my boobs. They were like, show me your titties, all hundreds. And then a lot of dick pictures, just constant all the time in my DMs. So I started making titty jokes because I was just like, I felt that was all that people were thinking about at this point. Like, is there anything else to talk about? And so I made a tweet a while back that was like, honk if you like titties. And it went viral and people were like, thought it was hilarious. And then I started making tweets like that and people just loved it. So I just kept doing it because I thought it was fun. And back whenever I was younger, I grew up in Texas. So it's like very, very conservative here and nothing wrong with that. But people just don't say that here. You just don't go popping off about titties everywhere. So
Of course.
yeah, it felt like I was like being bad or whatever. So it's like fun to feel like against the grain. A lot of people like very upset that I was doing this. So I got tons of incels DMing me or tweeting at me, just angry. So I just kept going. And I thought it was funny that I was upsetting so many people. And then when guys sent dick pictures, I just kept posting them like on Twitter, and one of them went viral on Reddit. And ever since then, nobody sent me a dick picture anymore because it was very embarrassing for the guy.
Of course, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Man, that's fascinating.
Yeah. It was like all
Um,
of that led me to Crypto Titties. And once I came out with Crypto Titties, the collection sold out pretty immediately. And one of my community members actually reached out to me and was saying I should donate to breast cancer research. And so that's how I became affiliated with the American Cancer Society, because I started donating the funds over to them, or some of them.
Amazing. Was that direct or was that through? Oh goodness, I'm blanking on who's the foundation that does all the Web3
The
donations.
Giving Block.
Giving Block, thank you. Did you go through them or was it just direct to the Cancer Society?
I went through Giving Block because I wanted to donate in cryptocurrency, because apparently there's a lot more benefits to them, like tax wise. in myself, obviously. And I donated, I guess the first donation was like somewhere around 25K or something, pretty good amount. And so they
That's
reached out
amazing.
to me like immediately and they were like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. Let's have lunch. So I had lunch with them and they really liked, they thought I was, what I was doing was funny. So I ended up like becoming like a really big advocate for them and they put me in their laureate society and I just started doing work with them ever since.
That's so amazing. You answered my question. What did they think of the whole shtick? But I'm sure they loved it. And now that I think of it, like there are a lot of like officially branded like breast cancer things that are pushing the envelope of away from the conservative side, more like just funny puns and things. So that's awesome that you could just take all this attention and just repackage it, rebrand it, and then give back. It's just one of those amazing things about Web3. And it speaks a lot to about you because and I think we may have talked about this that night at VeeCon. At the surface, all people do on the Twitter timeline is make snap judgments, right? And at the surface, it's like, all right, she's just posting about titties, like getting the engagement. But anything, like anyone's story, like there's something more to that. And I love this component of bridging the gap and using it for good. I was working with a project that was trying to do a collab with the Heart Association, and like the work that goes on in the background, there's a lot. First of all, the guards are super up just because of the nature of the space, and
Yeah.
these iconic brands are very reluctant to put their logo and face on anything that could create this big blowback. So really, kudos to you. Like it's a lot of work, and it's good work, and you probably don't get acknowledged enough for it. As far
Thank you.
as just while we're on this topic before we move on, as far as this whole like influencer thing, and I don't know if you use that word, I don't, whatever, but what has been the most rewarding part of getting to this place where people are DMing you? You probably are getting offered collabs all the time. Your menu of opportunities is probably open. What's been the most rewarding part, and what's been the most difficult part of kind of crossing that line to being in this position?
And whenever I'm not like super big fan of influencer, but a lot of people call me that, especially with the amount of followers that I have. So I just embrace it. One of the biggest rewards that I've gotten is honestly just being able to connect with people on a different level. Like when I go to events, everybody immediately recognizes me and they want to take pictures and they want to be friendly and have conversations. And it's so fun to be able to feel like I'm like a micro niche celebrity, I guess is the joke there, but it literally feels like you're like a very important person when you're at these NFT events and you have a certain amount of followers. People are like, oh my gosh, you're famous or whatever. And that is wild and really fun whenever you actually get to meet your friends and they're like super pumped after seeing your face. Like they know the person behind the face. So that's been really fun for me and a big benefit. Obviously, some of the collaborations that I've done have been really great for my career and for monetary purposes, obviously. But I think the struggle for me and a lot of other influencers is the negative backlash you get. No matter how much you try to be a good person, or no matter how much research you do or who you know that's involved with the collaborations or projects that you're doing, not everything turns out perfectly. And people don't forget that. And they tend to be very negative. They don't understand that you're literally like, I'm a normal person. I'm not like rich by any means. I'm not, this big whale. I'm not like some crazy influencer that's just puppeteering in the cabal or whatever. I'm just literally a normal person trying to live my life. And that people don't understand that you're on that same level as them. You just have more followers. That's literally the difference between me and other people.
That makes so much sense. People are, and it happens everywhere. I've been to a few events, but people just get put on this pedestal depending on that one metric, like how many followers, with no other contextual evidence or variables for someone to make judgments on, oh, I can't go talk to them because they have this
Mhm.
many followers. It is very interesting. And elevated in this kind of weird micro space of, you have DGen culture, and then you have people just on tilt because they're over leveraged, and like their financial drive is just helping steering their emotions. It must be wild. I know you're married. what does your husband think about all of this between the titty stuff and you just being stopped and taking pictures? Maybe if he's with you at these events, what's his take?
Man, when I first started doing this, he was like, "What the hell are you doing?" Like he was just he was mind blown, and he was also, "Wow, like you're actually doing this. You're actually like an influencer or whatever." And so he has always been super supportive since day one. Of course, I'm sure he would love to have me actually available because I'm on my phone constantly, as a lot of people in the space are. Like your phone is like your work, it's your play, it's literally like an extension of you at this point when you're on Twitter so much, and your whole livelihood at this point is dependent on that and NFTs. That has been a struggle for us, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that are married in the space or in relationships. And when we haven't been to many events together, because I think and a lot of people that are married to NFT people can probably relate to this as well, is last event that I went to with him probably was last year. It was before I was actually like at the point I was now, and I was still recognizable, but not quite as much as I am now. And a lot of people are still coming up to me and wanting to take pictures or say hi and give me hugs and whatever. And that was really crazy for him because in real life he's a filmmaker and he's a painter and he's very well connected, and so it's the opposite. He has a lot of people coming up to him, and so like in this world it's the opposite. So it almost makes you feel
Interesting.
like probably an accessory when you come to these events. Like he's literally just there to hang out with me for the 5 seconds that I can before I'm dragged away. So it's just been one of those things that's been fun for him to watch. Can be a struggle sometimes, but literally is one of the reasons I do this. And I couldn't ask for a better support system.
Amazing. That's fantastic. And what a cool dynamic of the swapped situations. And it's just fascinating that you keep on mentioning like real life. Like there's such a there's such a vast difference between everyday living and then when you go to these IRL events. So I think this is a nice transition. On May 20th, you tweeted to those of you who haven't gone to IRL events or are too shy to branch out, push yourself. Literally, nothing is going to elevate you more personally, professionally, and mentally than connecting IRL with the people you talk to online every day. It's an absolute life changer. Let's pivot there. So it sounds like you had a positive VeeCon experience. So I'm curious if you don't mind just saying like how you didn't go to the first one, correct?
No, I did not.
So this was your first one. So how did you end up making the decision to go, and how were you elevated? Let's talk about your experience.
Well, I last VeeCon, I was not in a good mental place. There was like a lot of stuff happening in my personal life, and so I couldn't go just because like mental barriers. And at the time, I was like real shy and just mentally depleted. Like I was mentioning earlier, a lot of people can be cruel online, and that week had been a very particularly bad week for me. And then I saw these pictures and videos at VeeCon. I was like, man, that could have been me. I could have been one of those people, and I had so much FOMO. And so I was like, man, I can't miss any of these events. So I made a point last year. I was like, I have to go to VeeCon. That's at least one that I have to go because that's the only event that I didn't go to. So this year when I pulled up to VeeCon, I knew a ton more people. It was really great. I got to meet people I'd never met with before ever, and I would have never met with. I'm not super familiar with the VeeFam. I have a lot of friends. I'm sure you probably know Cohen. He's a big VeeFam guy, and he's probably one of the main reasons I got into the what do you call it? VeeFriends. Oh my gosh, I was blanking, of course, on the most important part. But yeah, and I knew a lot of other people that were either close to Gary Vee or had a VeeFriends, and they pushed me towards that direction too. So when I got there, I didn't really know what I was expecting. I was hoping for more business stuff and still a little fun. So what I got was really cool. Like the field day was really fun. I got to connect with some people I would have never connected with ever, people that I've known for years on this app that I got to meet for the first time. And it was just so great because I was just so happy to see them. Some people that I had really admired in the space that I finally got a one-on-one conversation with, because it was like that type of environment. It felt like you could actually talk to people versus just going from party to party. Because like NFT NYC, NFT LA, all these other places, like not anybody not that many people went to the actual conference itself. It was like not
Mhm.
very appealing. But with VCon, it was like the place to be all day, every day. And so it felt like a hub where you got to actually see everybody that you wanted to see, actually talk to people, go to the panels, get to talk to the panelists. It felt like a very personal experience. And didn't really get to connect with Gary Vee. I met him in a little photo op and got to take a picture. That was nice. And it was cool to meet him in person. Like I just felt like that event went way, the expectations were pretty high and it went higher than that. And that was, yeah, it was a very positive experience. It made me excited about NFTs again. So that I loved it.
That's amazing. And for someone that's been to so many events, and I definitely haven't been to as many as you, but I've been to a few, and then at VeeCon these last 2 years. From your perspective, and I try to stay objective, but it's hard because this is like my home base in this world. What were some differences, striking differences, if any, is just about the culture? And you said you were able to connect with people at a different level. But aside from the fact that I know, and New York, things are scattered all over. Miami, things are scattered all over, and that's why I like the Minneapolis or Indy at a big stadium because everything's right there, as you mentioned. But just curious, were there any striking takeaways just from on a personal level or professional from this event compared to some of the bigger ones or other ones?
I guess I felt like I had more of a personal awakening in myself because like I have bipolar disorder. So sometimes I get like super high happy feelings and then super low depressive feelings. So like and I tend to stick in the low a lot more just because like it's easier sometimes to be lower than it is like happy, positive person. It takes effort, and a lot of people, I guess, that deal with that kind of depression have that feeling probably. So when I went there, I felt like I had to confront like the way that I am sometimes. Cause like even me with the amount of followers I have, people think that things are just super easy for you and you can meet whoever you want to meet. But there are some people that I don't have access to. And like I'm fearful to talk to because I do literally put them on a pedestal as well, and I had fear of talking to people. At VeeCon, I felt like I wanted to break down that barrier in myself, pursue what made me scared. Gary Vee said something about it whenever he was speaking, and it really touched me. I felt like I felt more willing to put myself into a positive frame of mind instead of remaining in the negative because this space sometimes gets dramatic and negative and can be a bit of a hassle like mentally for a lot of people, but I felt like that wasn't something that was at the top of my mind. I didn't think of any drama. I didn't even go on Twitter that much. I just posted a few things and I felt like I walked away like more positive about the space. And that's my biggest thing is personally, I felt happier, more positive than I did before. Professionally, I felt like I made good connections, but it was more on a personal note for me for VCon.
Amazing. And I'm just going to recap another tweet from May 26th that really stuck with me from your feed. So this is post VeeCon on the 26th. The biggest mistake I've ever made being a full-time entrepreneur is my fear of pursuing opportunities and connections. I've missed so much by just being scared to put myself out there, thinking I would be immediately rejected. Overcoming fear is the first step to your success. Two things crossed my mind when I read that. One, it's just a fantastic message, especially to piggyback off what you just said. People just assume that like you could do anything you want and you don't have these emotions, limiting beliefs or whatever. That was number one. So that the message is amazing. And number two is it made me think of Gary's closing keynote speech where he just talked about fear. So were you sitting in a lot of those words from that talk? Is that where some of that stemmed from? Or is it just your overall experience?
I felt like it was a bit of both. Like, I felt like after I heard that speech from him, like, even without having that personal connection, I felt like he was trying to connect with every single person. And like, I felt like it was a combination of everything. Like, it was a combination of me pursuing things that I would never attempt to pursue normally at VeeCon. It was his closing speech. And it was also like, seeing people like on Twitter, like just the one person I have to shout out is OG. He was just able to like connect with everybody and he was fearless. He was literally going up to everyone like, let's get an interview, let's get an interview. Even people that like I would be scared to approach. He just was going for it. And so seeing people like do that kind of stuff, no matter where they were in their career, whether they're just first starting or whether they've been here for a while and just haven't got the traction, a lot of that motivated me to make the post, because I was sitting here like, a lot of the times whenever you're trying to build your account, you forget to actually pursue opportunity. You get a little worried about what people think of you or whatever it may be. You have a lot of fear. Even when you get validation online, it doesn't equate to feeling like you're personally validated or professionally validated. And I think that's the mistake that a lot of people make when they first get into the space, is that they don't look for professional validation. And down the road, 2 years later, for me, that's the biggest piece that's been missing for me, is that I made my career off of like shit posting and having fun and things, but I never really went down that line of being a super professional person. So I'm shifting gears and trying to be a little more professional while still keeping it fun. And I think that is what, inspired me the most, is that I just feel like everybody should take that message and just try to actually do something meaningful in this space versus just going from thing to thing, just not feeling like they can pursue those opportunities.
I love that. And thank you for being so transparent and sharing that. And obviously, I did a little homework on your feed, and I have noticed like you are tweeting a lot more about kindness. And why is it so hard for people to be kind to each other? Which is a fantastic question. And especially for this space, because, yeah, there's just not enough of it. And that's one of the reasons why people latch on to VeeFriends so hard, because they really believe in just the traits that people need, specifically being taught at a young age. Like I have a son, and we talk about not only the characters and the cards and all the fun stuff, but what does it mean to have empathy? What does it mean to not seek others' validation? So it's really, I think, needed. And that's one of the biggest reasons I'm bullish on it. Obviously, Gary is one of the best at what he does, but just the impressions that it's going to leave on everyone. So it's super cool to hear how just the conference affected you. Thinking to VeeFriends as a project, for forever there was this, at least my perceived take on it was that VeeFriends, like, it was a lot of Gary followers, a lot of people that stumbled onto NFTs through Gary kind of fell into this little pocket. But a lot of the DCan culture, Web3 influencers, for lack of a better word, were just not really paying too much of attention to it. That, at least that was the purview from VeeFriend Spaces and Discord and whatever. Just curious on your thoughts over the last 18 months since beginning of 21, what your perspective of it is, and has it changed now?
Honestly, I feel like the VeeFriends community was forgotten by a lot of people, like especially degenerates, because a lot of people don't cling on to. I think people view it as like very kid friendly and very kid oriented. And even though Gary like says some stuff and pops off, and I think people forget that too about him, but I never really saw a lot of people with VeeFriends as PFPs, and I never really got to interact with a lot of the community, except for a few friends that were very into the VeeFriends community. And so it felt like a very silent community on Twitter. And then whenever I really truly thought about it, especially after Veecon, I felt like a lot of what I was seeing was an echo chamber. A lot of people live, especially influencers, like 100% live in an echo chamber. And honestly, that has been a big awakening. If there was like some takeaways from Veecon that I really pulled, is that I never realized how much of an echo chamber I lived in, truly. Whenever you're focused on making spaces and trying to put up an appearance of a certain thing and make money in the space and try to be an influential person. And even if you're not trying to be an influential, you're trying to make memes and get engagement, and you're trying to be involved in what the community's involved in. And you forget that there's a world outside of that. And honestly, I call it getting lost in the sauce. I'm sure a lot of people do whenever they're stuck in that drama. And a lot of me was there because it was exciting. It was funny. Honestly, it's stupid, but it's very high school-esque on Twitter sometimes, especially NFT Twitter, and it can be like very toxic. I've been making a more concerted effort to get out of that echo chamber and focus on positive stuff. And I've run into a lot more VeeFriends holders. And I feel like a lot of the VeeFriends holders that I've met, they're all very nice and they're all very positive and they don't try to get in all that drama. Like Gentle Tornado, he's been somebody I've recently connected with in the past 6 months, and he's now like one of my inspirations. He's not super like he's to me he's very well known, but maybe like relative to Twitter, maybe he's not. But watching him open for Veecon, watching his daily videos, feeling those vibes and energy, I feel like him and so many other people have shifted my focus on what's funny and what's popular and what's this, and going into a more positive, professional direction where I actually feel like I'm making a difference and driving value to the space versus just like having a good time. I don't know, like it just feels like my eyes are a little more open now.
That's amazing. That makes me feel so good to hear, because I've seen, well, there's so much to what you just said, but my thesis is that like this DGen, like living in college, just shitting on everything all the time, and just like this toxicity, that's just not sustainable for anybody. Like people are going to move on in their path. Like their real life is going to change and they're going to have new perspectives. And I think the feeling good and doing good things is universal. Like people like to be kind at their inner core, and people like to have people acknowledge them and say hello, which is what I get out of Veecon. I felt it's not always easy for me to go and say hello, but I feel in that little bubble of Veecon, like I could say hello to anyone and just get that respect and warmth back. And as soon as you go to the airport, like it's lost. So I definitely noticed that, but I feel like more people are going to that are elevated in Web3, maybe in that echo chamber that you speak of, are going to gravitate. Their eyes are going to be opened and head more toward this, like, all right, why can't we just be kind to each other? It's simple as that. And it's really interesting. And just, I think one of those testaments to like something that this project is doing is working. Maybe not the project itself, but via the content or the community. I think it's going to do a lot of good. So really cool to hear you say that. And again, I appreciate you being so transparent. I just think it's like people can't FUD and worry about floor prices and the next shitcoin forever. It's just simple, right? Like maybe I'm crazy, but
No, I agree with you.
and yes, the gentle tornadoes of the world, the more people that drink the Kool-Aid and put that out there, the more people it's going to affect, and so on and so forth. So you don't hold any VeeFriends or anything.
So I had a series 2 that I did for the Burn Islands to try to win the CryptoPunk. Obviously I didn't win, but it was fun I did one of those, the positive video for which was it? The cat.
Cynical cat, yep.
Yeah, Cynical Cat. I did a video for that, and that was really cool. It made me think more deeply about the way that I experience things, and that was before VeeCon. So I felt like it was the perfect pre-con experience before VeeCon. And so other than that, I don't hold anything right now, but I did. I just burned it.
Amazing. Yeah, and you're not wrong for that. It was an
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable offer. And that's another thing, like the culture is very open in like the VeeFam. You just got to show up and be kind, and you're in it. Just to wrap up this kind of topic. So what do you say, what would be your elevator pitch to someone that's why would you go back to VeeCon? Like, why would you like consider buying a VeeFriend, to someone that's maybe in your set echo chamber that looks at Gary's 5-year-old doodles and be like, why would anyone want any part of this?
If you're looking to be part of something like super positive, if you're looking for people to truly encourage you for no reward necessarily, like if you're looking for something that you like something somewhere where you can actually connect with people versus like it being a party environment, this is the place to be, because I feel like the VeeFriends community in Veecon is full of a lot of builders, like real actual builders that are truly out to look out for the community. I feel like the people that are in VeeFriends and Veecon are people that are like diehard NFT people that are also not just diehard to that particular community, but they're also die hard for the general vibes of keeping things in a good positive light. Like you won't ever catch like people in the VeeFriends community like saying mean things about other people. I've never seen that one time, and I think that's why in the echo chamber they're not there, because they're literally like they have no business in that little negative sea of information that we see every day.
I love that. I love that. It's just, I believe like conversations like these, like people stepping over, and not to pin you as the influencer or whatever, but just someone with a microphone that people listen to. I think that people making that shift is going to be a huge reason why this picks up. Like this card thing is booming now. Like we met at the card night, which was super fun, and now there's been like streams every night. My wife is in it, and it's just a fun, easy way for people to meet each other and learn about the characters in a fun, easy way without any of this. Like, what is an NFT? Kind of thing. It just breaks down those barriers. So I think the card thing is going to be huge for getting more eyeballs in this, and then conversations like yourself and the Doms, the Gentles out there, just using their microphone for positivity. And not even, it's not, doesn't even need to be like the culty way that a lot of us speak about VeeFriends, but just what VeeFriends represents. So really hats off to you. I always like to ask people what VeeFriend they need to spend more time with, meaning what character trait do you feel like you need more, and by osmosis you would want to hang out with that person. I know you might not have the largest understanding of all 200 plus characters, but you've spoken a lot about it. So I was just curious if there were any traits you're like, I need more of this right now.
My friends ended up getting, I'm so bad with the names, honestly. Like they're so catchy, but then I always forget the vampire one. What is the vampire called again?
Vibe and, Vibe and Vampire.
Yes, yes. I feel like the vibe in vampire is very much something that vibing to me means like being positive, going with the flow, directing like people to like places where they actually can feel like good about themselves. And I feel like that is something I try to embody, is like when people meet me, I want people to meet me and say, wow, like that good vibes, like that person is radiating good vibes, positivity. That's the person I want to see. And even though it's funny that it's a vampire that's doing it, because you would think vampires like suck the life out of people, but
Exactly.
I feel like maybe they're sucking the negative vibes out of people and putting out positive vibes. So I don't know. That's the perspective that I have on it.
I love it. That's amazing. And great call out. That really makes sense. I see, and it's funny how like something like that could just change your view on a character, and that's what they are, characters, and the way we feel about characters change. Like I used to, Woody from Toy Story was like my guy growing up, and now like I'm watching it as an adult, and I'm like, fuck Woody, like he does some really weird shit. Yeah, amazing. So, is there? I know you have some projects. Is there? I know you've talked about your whole aura and your pivoting of kind of your voice. Is there anything that you're working on now? Anything that you'd want people to know about, put on their radar, as far as projects or things that you're, I don't know, want to show?
Oh, yeah, sure. Honestly, I'm doing a lot of branding and marketing for some companies like privately, and like making a lot of content. I've been really focused on like making funny content. That's my bread and butter. There's a few projects that I've been working on. The main one that I've really been working with is a project that's going to be released here in the next month. It's not necessarily be friends or it's like all positive vibes. It is going to be positive vibes, but it's like an anime project. It's called Thieves Ends. I'm the collab manager and social media marketer for that project. And it's a project that's filled with a lot of people that are into anime. That's one thing I love about anime, is that they have that kind of community. Like I don't know if you're into that, but they have those good vibes. Like everybody, once you're into anime, like you've got this little family. So that's what we're trying to build in a fun way. Even though the characters are like thieves, it's still like our brand is tat, which is thick as thieves. And that's like my takeaway, is that we want everybody to feel included, and that's what we're building right now.
I love it. I love it. That's super cool. And that's my day job too. So maybe we'll have to connect. I'd love to have you. I do a marketing spaces. That's kind of like a Shark Tanky thing. So maybe
Oh,
I'll
nice.
try to right hook you for that.
Yes.
Amazing. Ashley, I can't thank you enough. Before we head into this last segment, I just really appreciate your time and your willingness to come on and just tell it like it is and show who you are. Because I think the more people do that, I think the more good that will be injected into the space and the more light that there will be. So really appreciate you for that. And it was great meeting you. And I'm sure we'll hopefully see each other at other events as well.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. You
for
should
this,
come to all of them.
I will do my best. My current family situation with three little ones is tough. So VeeCon may be it for a little while, at least for the summer. But yeah, so like to your point about IRL, like you just can't articulate it. Like just go, people, just go. Whether it's VeeCon or whether it's like a little small crypto group of three people at a coffee shop in your
Yeah.
town, just connect IRL. So for this last segment, I call it Micro Macro Spitfire. Micro Macro is one of the many VeeFriends characters. I'm going to just do real quick rapid fire questions, and you could give short macro answer, yes, no, or one word, or you can like get your microscope out and explain why you're answering what you are. Totally up to you.
All right, I'm excited.
So here we go. Who is someone in the Web3 community that needs to be followed?
The blonde broker, aka my best friend. So she's my favorite person.
Your first NFT was?
Dogepound.
Favorite teacher you had growing up and one reason why?
Her name was Mrs. Shaw, and it was because she always, one was like giving me treats, and two, she was the only one that I felt like I ever connected to. Like she had super positive vibes, and I struggled learning as a kid, and she helped me.
A secret talent you have that most people don't know about?
Oh man. Oh, that one's hard. I can read very quickly. So a page, I can literally read it like gosh, like I basically scan it and absorb the information immediately. So I'm like the quickest reader.
Mhm.
I won all the scholastic competitions whenever I was a kid. So that's the weirdest talent
Wow.
I have.
Just naturally, or did you do one of those speed reading courses?
I
As a
was deaf as a kid, so like I had to read everything and I had to do braille or not braille, that's but sign language. So like everything I had to absorb information a totally different way. And so when the tubes were removed from my ears, I actually could just do it just naturally.
Wow. How old were you when that happened?
Probably like 4 or 5. I just was starting school and they put me. This is like a super long explanation, but one of the really fun tidbits, whenever I was first born, I couldn't hear anything. Like it sounded like a swimming pool in my head. And they thought that I was mentally challenged. So they put me into special education classes. And then it turns
Of
out they
course.
found out that I was deaf. And they put tubes in my ears. Eventually they came out. I can't remember the exact age that I was, but I was like in no, either kindergarten or first grade, but I was in school. So I had to go to 1 year of school that was like really the short bus. And then the rest of my school, I was normal. So I don't know.
Wild story. Favorite video game growing up?
Oh man, Kingdom Hearts. That was like my all-time favorite. I played every day.
Bougie hotel or hiking and camping out in the woods?
Bougie Hotel. I'm not afraid to admit it. I love creature comforts.
Favorite concert you've ever been to?
Ozfest, 2007.
N- nice. Wine, beer, or coffee?
Coffee. I don't drink.
VCon 2024 will be in what city?
Ooh, maybe Peoria, Illinois. That's a little tiny town. Why not?
Why not? What V friend loves titties the most?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I let me see. There was one I can't remember. Which was it? Positive Panda,
Patient Panda?
Patient Panda. I don't know why. That one's the first one that came to mind. I don't know why. We'll just say
I
Patient
I
Panda.
could see that. You could probably point to anyone.
Yes, exactly. That's why he's so
Would you
patient.
rather have Would you rather have a 2 hour group dinner experience with Gary Vee, like you and 9 other people for 2 hours, or a 10-minute one-on-one with him?
A 10-minute one-on-one.
How do you want to be remembered in the space?
I want to be remembered as someone that is personable, always positive, always, and somebody that you can feel like you have a real conversation with. That's the main thing I want to be remembered for.
Amazing. And then last question, if you could ask Gary Vee one question, what would it be?
Honestly, like how he maintains his level of energy, like what drives him the most out of everything to shed the positive, like all the other encompassing stuff, I'm sure family and community and all of that stuff, but what truly, like I really want to know, like the man was doing photos for 8 hours a day every single day, and he still had a smile on his face in every single picture, and I just want to know, like, how do you do it, man? It's incredible. I want what you have. Give me that energy.
100%. Amazing. So, Ashley, I can't thank you enough again. I know I've said it 9 times, but it took 2 seconds just chatting with you, meeting you at VeeCon to know that you're an awesome person. This kind of just is another nail in that thesis. Really hope to stay in touch and yeah, wish you the best. I'm looking forward to hearing everything you're putting out into the world.
Thank you. I loved being here. And yeah, we'll have many more talks in the future, I'm sure.
Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.